dice, source books, character sheets, snacks. Long ago, people read fantasy or played pretend with their friends. Then, everything changed when the tabletop RPG arrived. Many games were made to fit many genres and playstyles, but I believe D&D can be bent to fit any setting. Hey everyone, it's the Aries 1999, and today we are going to be going through how to play as an elemental bender from Avatar: The Last Airbender / Legend of Korra. If you are somehow unfamiliar, then I would like to thank you for having my channel be the very first thing on the internet that you have ever watched. All joking aside, the long and short of it is that in this world, some people are born with the ability to control, or as they call it, bend, one of the four primary elements: earth, fire, wind, or water. This led to four main countries with cultures built around the elements, and there was one person alive at the time who is capable of bending all four. This person is known as the Avatar. Our focus here is to recreate the bending powers using the rules of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Mechanically, you will still be following whatever your class says in terms of how its abilities work, but you're going to be texturing it differently from a roleplay perspective, and you can say that your powers stem from bending. Quite a bit of this is going to be coming from the Elemental Evil Player's Companion. This is a free PDF published back in 2015. As you can imagine, it's all about adding aspects of the four elements into D&D. I will link to it in the description. Now, the first thing we're going to take from is the Genasi race. This is a cross between humanoids of the prime material plane and genies of the elemental planes. For our purposes, we will build our benders around the Genasi race, but you of course don't have to. One of the things I love about 5e is that there aren't class restrictions. Or rather, that there shouldn't be class restrictions, but that's a video for another day. Battle Rager, looking at you. Race class restrictions are just stupid, but like I said, another video for another day. Now that we've got some of the races picked out, just check out the classes. Depending on which element you want to focus on, there are a lot of options. Start with Firebenders. The Fire Genasi have a red-shifted dark vision. They have fire resistance, they get to produce flame cantrip, and can cast Burning Hands once per day. There are other race options, of course, that we can look at. There's the gold and red Dragonborns are fire-based, and then the blue and bronze Dragonborns are lightning-based. This is good if you want to go for more of a lightning bender. The Tieflings, they resist fire and get access to the Hellish Rebuke spell, and if you go for Bloodline of Mephistopheles, you can get Burning Hands and Flame Blade. Alternatively, the Bloodline of Zariel gets you Searing Smite and Branding Smite. Now, for the classes, Pyromancer, Sorcerer, comes to mind pretty quickly. This is a subclass from Planeshift Kaladesh. I'm going to assume I'm pronouncing that correctly. This lets you do extra fire damage, overcome fire resistance, and even burn creatures that are normally immune to flames. Sun Soul Monk has you become one with the dancing fire. You gain a burning ranged attack based on your martial arts. Then you can cast Burning Hands as a bonus action, and you can make a fiery explosion and a flaming shield. Like Cleric, focuses on bright flames, whether it just be to light up a dark room or to stun an enemy by shining it in their eyes. Later on, they can invoke disadvantage against their foes with their fire. Wild Fire Druids are about the natural essence of destruction. You gain the Firebolt cantrip and some other spells. You could also use your connection to summon a fiery spirit. From an avatar perspective, these benders have a very strong connection to the spirit world. Then there's also Evocation Wizard, since a lot of fire spells are evocation based. This also affects lightning spells, so that you can become a lightning bender. But specifically, what are some of the spells I'm thinking about? Well, there's Control Flame, Heat Metal, Pyrotechnics, Fireball. And as for the lightning spells, well, there's Lightning Bolt, Call Lightning, and Lightning Arrow. And you can also provide a fire texture to some other spells, like Rocket Jump, or maybe like a flaming shield spell, or dancing lights made from fire. Next up is Airbender. The Air Genasi can hold their breath indefinitely and levitate once per day. Aarakocra and Avon are pretty similar races. They're both bird creatures with innate flying speeds. Now for the classes, Storm Herald Barbarians unleash the wrath of a mighty tempest on their foes. They can flare up a storm era to attack and defend themselves. Monk Way of the Cyclone is a homebrew subclass I made last year that I'll link to below. They get the Orin dialect of Primordial, and they can glide around and soar at higher levels. Storm Sorcerers also get the Primordial language. Whenever they cast a spell, they can fly upwards a few feet, they can manipulate the winds, and make an air bubble from the rain. Now, Airbenders tend to be the most spiritually enlightened of the four nations, so perhaps a paladin could fit well here. Specifically, let's say Oath of Redemption, since they get extra healing abilities and can take a hit for an ally. Perhaps this is more of a character that studied the air nomad culture, but is not himself an airbender. For some relevant spells, well, there's Fly, Jump, Longstrider, Mage Hand if you want to say you're moving stuff with your airbending, Wall of Force, and Wind Wall to hold people back. Now, Earthbenders. Earth Genasi are not slowed by Earth-based difficult terrain and can pass without trace once per day. Dwarves are pretty quintessential creatures of the ground. Let's see now, most Earthbenders are physically well built, and that's going to apply well to several of these classes because they increase your sturdiness. Forge Clerics might be more specifically metal benders. They can morph metal into new weapons, can make armor stronger, and they can resist heat really well. Strength Clerics are really good at packing a punch. They can channel Divinity to give themselves a +10 to strength saves and checks. Perhaps aesthetically, instead of bulking up, you're using the earth to help you move things. Land Druids are in touch with the earth itself and can choose an environment to get power from. For this Earth Druid, let's say it's, circle of the ground mountain terrain. This gives her some heavy rock-based spells. She could have her land stride mean that she's clearing a path with earthbending to avoid difficult terrain. Then there's also the Stone Sorcerer. They have a special unarmored defense. You could say that this is bending a layer of rock around you, and you can summon rock in front of an ally to decrease the damage they take, and travel through the earth to them. For the spells, there's Catapult, Earthquake, Mold Earth, and Earthbind. Earthbenders can also learn to sense vibrations through the ground for a full 360 view of the environment. Maybe this could translate into spells like Dark Vision and Find Traps. Okay, lastly, Water. Water Genasi can breathe underwater, they resist acid, and they get the shape Water Cantrip. At level 3, they can create or destroy water once per day. You know what, it kind of feels like the Earth and Air Genasi got the shorter ends of the stick. Water and Fire seem the most powerful. Is that just me? Put what you think on that below. Now, Merfolk are an amphibious race that falls into one of three creeds. The Emeria is Druidic, Ola is Wizardly, and Kosai is Bardly. Triton are good at communicating with aquatic creatures, and they have both water and wind powers. Let's see now, there are the Tortle, which are turtle folk, and the Grung, which are frogs. Those are both worth checking out. For classes, Barbarian, Path of the Deaths, draws on the strength of Tsunami and Sea Monster. They can grow extra appendages to attack with, and you can texture this as being a water arm. At higher levels, they can teleport through water, use it to protect themselves, and make tidal waves. Blood Domain Cleric could be used to bend blood. Not quite blood bending in the way we see it as the show where it puppeteers people, but rather literally ripping their blood out through open wounds. Life Cleric, on the other hand, will be focused on the healing aspect of the element. Circle the Land Druid is still great. The Swamp, Arctic, or Coastal tables would be the most fitting. Sea Sorcerers are gifted with a connection to the ocean. They can swim and breathe underwater. They can use their ice magic to slow their foes and protect themselves with the water around them. Later on, they can become like the sea for easy movement or use its strength to bear fearsome blows. Now, the Fathomless Patron Warlock makes a pact with some deep sea entity. This gives them abilities similar to the Path of the Depths Barbarian. For spells, there's Water Walk. Then there's also Tsunami, Shape Water, Ray of Frost, Fog Cloud. For spell texturing, you could say the healing magic is using the waterbending's healing function. The spell Slow could be icing someone to slow them down. Hold Person could be bloodbending someone to immobilize them. And that is an overview of the four classes. I guess there's also Way of the Four Elements Monk, but that could be the avatar. On the other hand, you could have your Four Elements Monk just use one set of powers to be one type of bender. This is what I have going on in my Super Carlin Brothers themed D&D podcast campaign. Yes, all those words just came out of my mouth in that order. We have a red dragonborn monk who's a firebender. She wants revenge on the Fire Nation for having hunted the dragons in the past. A link to that shows in the description. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to check out some more content, I have videos on Fullmetal Alchemist and DragonBall. Tell me what you think of all this in the comments section. might do a follow-up Avatar video talking about this world as a campaign setting. I also didn't get a chance to talk about other player types like chi blockers or tinkerers or the many disciplines of warriors. Yeah, I'm revisiting this one. Until next time, I'm the Earth 1999. Have a great day, and God bless.